Keep in mind, Evil Geniuses did play on this map against Accelerate earlier in the season and absolutely clobbered them, showing quite a bit of flexibility on attack with a very large, pool of operators to use from. And EG's going to have the very first ban against a team like Rise Nation. You know Hyper loves to go on the dock. It's unlikely that we're going to see a dock ban on defense, but what are you going to see on attack? Well, they're going to ban Ashe.
That's a curious one, considering Hyper as well has been playing a lot of Zofia lately, so I don't feel like that's a target ban directly onto the top fragger for Rise. It might just be something EG just does not want to contend with at all. We've seen a lot of Ashe bans, honestly, when Joystick was running amok with Ashe in Challenger League and then in Pro League as well for the first half of Season 9. It was a lot of teams counter-banning him. A Glaz will also be removed from the possible pool of operators. Still have a lot at your disposal. A Nomad is well going to be extremely powerful on a map like Coastline with the very limited possibilities you have for rotations. I imagine just the fear of a Nomad being put in play could alter a mindset of EG on where they want to defend for their first 6 rounds.
Valkyrie, of course, a target ban towards Evil Geniuses as well. You've seen Geo run roughshod over top of entire teams, not just with the MPX in hand, and additionally that C4, but also all the information that comes with it. With Echo being our very final ban here, an answer back to that Valkyrie ban from Evil Geniuses, there's going to be a lot less tools on the field for information. You're still going to have Maestro available. You've got those couple operators as well that do find play with the bulletproof camera, example being Doc, possibly Mute. But it's really going to come down to whether teams want to run them. Unsurprisingly, we will see a Maestro come out from EG as they're going to go to Kitchen and service downstairs on that main floor for the very first defense.
I thought we were going to see a return to England on the Ying, but he's going to 6-pick Op and opt to go for a Blackbeard and as well Canadian. Well, 6-pick off of Bandit to a Legion. There we go. Going for a second guess, but he will confirm his loadout. So like you said, yeah, Kitchen defense first. This is one of the sites that honestly does not get played all that often. I would say it's in the lower tier, more by Penthouse and Theater. Typically, we see the opposite side of the map being utilized a lot more often, especially for primaries, which would be Hookah Billiards and then Blue Bar and Sunrise Bar. But a map like Coastline, highly dynamic, you can play it versatile. You can honestly pick any one of the 4 sites and be okay. And especially with Mira being allowed through, that makes Kitchen a lot stronger. That also allows the opportunity for Penthouse and the Theater to see a bit of a rise in the rotation.
This conventional setup in the bathroom here, a lot of times Evil Geniuses will shoot out most of that wall, which does not allow you to just go on in as an attacker and get a free plant down without somebody possibly seeing you on EG's side of things, playing farther back. Unsurprising as well to see a lot of presence on that second floor. A lot of teams are only running 2 bodies on Kitchen now, with Young sitting over here by this little pantry corner and then possibly having a Maestro sitting somewhere nearby as well. The good thing about Coastline is that if you can play in either of the 2 bars or even on the Cool Vibe stairs, you're very close in proximity to being able to get back to the site when the push happens. You can be recalled fairly fast.
See Hyper making his way up the hookah balcony. And it seemed like the initial setup there for Rise is it's England's drone that will spot out Necrox at the top of the Cool Vibe stairs, and shots coming out from Hyper. None will land through the wall, but they at least pinned down and applied some pressure towards Necrox. He's going to contend this from the hallway. It seemed like a very horizontal setup for Rise, but now they've started to stretch upstairs and identify where these vertical players are playing for Evil Geniuses.
You noted correctly that Hyper would be on that Zofia. He's going to take quick entrance through the doorway of Hookah and might spook Necrox, who cannot manage to hit the drone to save his life. And speaking of saving his life, it'll end up being Hyper almost taking all of it, as it's crazy. The 1-2 punch from Rise to be able to take some of the map control away from EG on a good entry. Air jab will knock Canadian, I think they'd say, on his backside as he tosses out 2 goo mines and waits for a possible push. That was a good opportunity for Rise to possibly be able to make something happen there, but they will not capitalize. There's 3 bodies of Rise now downstairs, knocking on the main door of Kitchen. As England and Crazy will take point, England falls off to go do drone work, and Crazy will go searching for his second kill.
You can see Rise again amassing outside of the Sunrise Bar at the bottom of the Cool Vibe stairs, but you still have Canadian on lurk upstairs, and he makes his way upstairs, and England, though, will take down NVK. Shots rattle off against the Sunrise Bar, but now it's Gio and Young left alone on site, and Canadian needs to be effective on the flank to try and dismay Rise from pushing in through this kitchen doorway. There's not really a lot to be done right now for EG other than sit and wait, try and bait them in. The utility use, though, Crazy has been having a very fun run with frag grenades as of late, not sure, and it looks like it does clear out that one Evil Eye as England stretches across the kitchen bar, but here comes a Nitro Cell, botched by Gio, retrieved on the edge of the windowsill. Canadian will take one, Gio claims two. Now Canadian pressing up right against the kitchen door on the opposite of a soft wall. Diffuser is surrendered at the disposal of the kitchen window. A wide peek from Canadian is able to down off Vandal, but Hyper will trade him back out. Young, Toxic Babes go flying out and will again cut off the access to that kitchen door, and Hyper trying to make a last-ditch retrieval of Vandal. He scoots his way into the blue bar through the doorway. It'll be a mad dash now to try and recover the diffuser and hold off for a plant attempt as they all go rushing through. Vandal will vault first. Hyper will recover the diffuser and the plant going down in the backhand corner. Vandal holding close. Toxic Babe, though, it won't be touching Hyper as he's pressed right up against that windowsill. Both EG defenders come exploding out, and Hyper will grab one. The vault out of the window now as they evacuate the site. Turning to the corner to the left now. EG on the hopes of Gio. He's able to take down Vandal, but now Hyper outside has window control. It's an easy spot to play, and Gio's going to hop up. He thinks the plant is inside default corner, but no, it's at window. He's going to have to remaneuver his way on top of the diffuser. Takes a lot of damage in the process. Baiting out the defuse as he turns in. He's able to take down Hyper. Gio playing wonderfully, spectacularly on the bait in the 1v2, and EG. Gio returning to old form with an old name, and they'll take round number one.
Things look like they went from bad to worse really fast when Young got cut down trying to get out of the spot that he found himself in towards the actual kitchen side where that diffuser was down. And Gio might be confused, even though he had some great reflexes to take out the Nomad. Didn't really know where the Zofia was playing. But I mean, you basically are aware when the plant is at the window that your final adversary is going to be somewhere nearby to be able to stop you from getting that diffuse or the disable off of the diffuser. You could possibly be playing behind the wall or up front. It doesn't really matter. Gio understood that and was able to use that knowledge to his advantage. All this said, there really shouldn't have been an opportunity for it to get that close for Rise. And it was a couple things. It was Canadian very quickly traded off by Rise, which has to be credited to Rise's draw potential or refrag potential, and then just a bit of an error on EG having two bodies inside of that service entrance area, both looking at a similar part to where that diffuse was going down, but not having any coverage over towards the window.
Yeah, they intentionally popped their own mirror that was facing service so they could play it on the reverse angle. Honestly, huge props to Gio as well with that Nitro Cell. So that was 4 in the round for Gio. A 4K for him and 1 for Canadian. I guess you could say 1.5 as he was able to down off Vandal before being picked up and then eventually killed off. They're going to swap up some roles, though. Gio will now head to the role that was occupied by Necrox. As Necrox has the smoke, it's a full rotation here from EG. Is same operators for the most part. Canadian now changing over from a Legion to a Vigil. But you've got Gio on the Jaeger, you've got NVK on the Maestro, you've got Young on the Mirror, and you've got Necrox on the Smoke. Just again, displaying the versatility and the adaptability of a team like Evil Geniuses. Any one of these members can play any one of each other's roles.
So I think Canadian in an interview even said that he and Gio tend to be your 6th picks. And I mean, sure, when you've got them both playing roles that can be traded out, from one another, that offers you a lot of flexibility, but you don't often hear us talk a lot about how both Young and Necrox are capable of playing roles interchangeably. And it puts NVK in a position where he also can play off-site, but he's been playing a little bit more sheltered as of late, even though you did have him playing aggressively last round. Canadian taking chances, that's not a surprise there. His adversary, one half of a duo that he used to refer to as the Brick Brain duo, was Hyper, and it will be Canadian winning the day on that first altercation. It takes about a minute. It was Canadian playing off-site, trying to hold some control down by that service entrance door, which was where the site was previously, but it's not this time, and Canadian's roam will continue. He's going to find a second trophy to put home. It'll be Vandal. Crazy's grenade will go out, and, well, it'll secure a target on NVK. I don't know if Crazy is aware that he got the down, as he's going to fall off, allowing NVK to possibly get picked up.
Yeah, his drone looking for the drone hole, but NVK is again slowly crawling away to try and be recovered here from inside of Theater. Crazy still maneuvering back and forth inside of VIP as the objective is Hookah, and there's a lot of pressure on the backside. Finally turning the corner and unable to land the secondary shot through the wall, and Geo on the peak will drop him. An immediate trade back. So now England with Diffuser on that Blackbeard has to retreat back. Try and clear out Theater from the backside as Rise getting caught up and skipping steps, and now they have to retreat, do it all over again, this time down 2 personnel.
Capitao of Acid just wades right in, and Geo will fall off. You see Acid has been downed, and England off of his traditional hard breaching role because it is Coastline. You don't need a hard breacher most of the time. It's going to free him up to play an operator that might have a bit more prowess when it comes to just ability to kill. Not necessarily relying on their utility, and I mean, the utility of Blackbeard is to get kills. That's what he does. Acid's going to use 2 of his smokes, and England losing a lot of his HP. It means that it's dire straits for Rise for the time being, as there's both Acid and England very low on HP. They got 30 seconds to work with 4 members of Evil Geniuses to hold them off. A good angle here, and a crossfire being set up from Necrox and Geo. Necrox showing off that Rainbow is Magic skin that you had mentioned in match number 2 of the day. And the smoke will just choke off Rise Nation's advance. Acid will circle on around back, still has 2 asphyxiating bolts, but this might be a very difficult situation for him to get out of. He pushes on in, Necrox will take him down, and where is England? Pre-Fire is anticipating where the Blackbeard would be. It's a deagle kill, but ends up being impactless. Geo, 2 kills on the round, and former teammates in Geo and England. This will be the 2nd round in a row for Evil Geniuses.
Yeah, Gassan and I touched about that Year 2 Season 1 LAN where Elevate was present and all of NA got dumpstered. It was a good time. But it's EG up 2-0 on the defensive side, and again they'll rotate to a 3rd objective, and curious how Mira is present, not banned, but we're still avoiding Penthouse and Theater like it's the plague. We go to Blue Bar and Sunrise as our tertiary bomb site for Evil Geniuses, and a very, I guess, peculiar lineup. I'll go back a little more traditional there as Geo will 6-pick out of the Frost onto the Mute, and in that round again, it was the Roam on the Theater side. A lot of presence, a lot of investment onto Theater and Penthouse, and Canadian getting extremely aggressive, winning out a lot of those gunfights. Dropped to 5 HP in his 2nd engagement, but he cleans up the kill, and he and Geo are on a run right now. 9 kills between the both of them through 2 rounds. It was just Necrox picking up that sole remaining frag available for the rest of EG, and they seem to be performing back to, I guess, expectations, you could say, for this team.
Rise Nation have players that are more than skilled enough to be able to entry solo. As we can see Hyper take a lot of ground on his own. We can see Acid do the same, even though Acid is playing more of a support role, which is giving Crazy the opportunity to possibly open things up. But I think England is playing a little bit too passively for a Blackbeard. He's not often finding himself in early engagements, which a lot of teams can use a Blackbeard that way. Kind of keep him hidden, put him in a position where you don't know what angle he's going to hold, and not have him as your main entry. I mean, Hyper is, for the most part, going to be the main entry for Rise Nation anyway, but you know that England is going to keep running this Blackbeard unless you just assume that they're 6-picking off of it, which they are not. I'd like to see England possibly be a little bit more aggressive and in the fight here. We've seen what he can do when he's put on non-support roles, and he's had his stock rise, I think, over the last 2 seasons, give or take. And here you go. England right now in a position to possibly be the very first member of Rise Nation to spot somebody from EG, as there's clear passage now into Sunrise Bar, enabled by the Sledgehammer of Crazy on that castle barricade.
Precarious situation there as Canadian trying to continue his winning ways from last round, in which he got extremely aggressive and was able to take down 2 members of Rise. And again, he might face that rifle shield of England much sooner than he wants to, but he'll overheal himself in behind that Sunrise Bar as explosions rain out around him and the drones disseminate upon him constantly. Spotting out his location behind that bar, and there goes the rifle shield. No damage done to England, who also carries the diffuser, and that's one of those rifle shields surrendered at the hands of that MP5 of Canadian. Still trying to get aggressive, but not trying to throw his life away. A much smarter approach to this round as compared to last, and equally as successful, honestly, at burning the time, as Rise have made little to no progress elsewhere on the map, gaining any control, constantly stalling out this Sunrise entrance.
Both ACOGs from Evil Geniuses will be focused on England and his rifle shield, as I don't know how Crazy managed to survive that encounter. Geo's going to take out Vandal, though, with the point-blank range of a shotgun. That'll down the Nomad and take her off the board. As Canadian engages with Crazy, we've seen him play that sledge roll before. Young will add to the tally, and it'll be a lockout now from EG with Hyper. The person you usually see as Rise Nation being their main point of entry, now the last one left standing. And it's going to be him against the world. The EG looking to take their third site in a row on Coastline. Whether Hyper can manage to do anything or capitalize on a kill doesn't appear that way. Almost able to withstand, but doesn't even get a third of the way through as Geo jumps out the window. Or runs out, actually. Not even out the window. This is a joint effort. EG, so far, firing on all cylinders. 3 rounds and haven't really broken much of a sweat against Rise Nation.
No, and that round really has to be attributed to the fact that Rise Nation really got single-minded on their approach. You're just stacking 4 bodies outside of the Sunrise entrance. As soon as all 4 of your members trying to push in through that same door and window start falling, Hyper tries to go upstairs, but you need that upstairs pressure to push out the anchors that are playing behind the Sunrise bar that are decapitating Crazy and taking shields off of England. If Crazy gets in upstairs and has Hookah control earlier and starts using lifeline charges on the floorboards to try and evacuate those positions, then there's an easier possibility of a push-in for Rise, but there was no map control whatsoever. They had that Sunrise entrance double window beside the door, and that was about all they had for the entire map of Coastline. They could have gone for a push on the far side. They could have, at the midway point in that round, just said, hey guys, this is not working. We are stalling. We need to make a change. And instead, they drove their head into the brick wall that was Canadian and NVK, that ACOG duo, as called them.
And I think it's been a really difficult prospect for Rise Nation to be able to not just take map control, but also their entry has been so just unaware. They've been deprived of info on so many different rounds. And you look at Geo, who's got 9 kills right now, playing roles that are largely not supporting roles. He hasn't died yet through 3 rounds either, which is worth noting. But he's playing on aggressive roles where he's putting himself in the line of fire, and it's proving to work quite well for EG. He's been popping off, and with it, the rest of his team haven't necessarily needed to work as hard, even though we did see Canadian being able to keep and hold all that map control as Vigil 2 rounds previously. Now, when you look at what Rise Nation needs to do to change this, it's just going to be a rush. They're going to go in absolutely gangbusters. 3 bodies into service. Canadian will take out Crazy as Hyper and England are able to get 2 big kills. Rise have full control, and nobody from EG seemed to understand this. But NBK will take out Hyper. Looking for a second, he'll grab it on the acid and immediately retreat to the safety of the reinforced wall. England and Vandal will now have to try to work their way through the 2 remaining members of EG. This is the best round that we've seen from Rise, and it comes in the first 40 seconds.
Very site-centric and honestly aggressive, but at least it puts them in a better position than they were last time around, currently standing at a 2v2 and having the health advantage on their side. You also have the, he had air jabs remaining. The last one was deployed out to that Lamborghini desk that Geo was able to spot out and destroy before it had any effect on him, but now England will have to rotate with the diffuser outside of the Sunrise entrance, and looks like Vandal and England will both press in together towards that main lobby. It appears that Vandal might be going for a flank through CCTV and security to try and isolate Geo, separate the remaining defenders in NVK and Geo, make sure they're stuck off in 1v2s in each situation. We eclipse the midway point in the round, though, and Courtyard is a priority focus here for Vandals. He's trying to angle in towards the lone defender remaining on site in NVK. As he's currently hit the deck and awaiting a new approach from Rise, as the restructure and the refocus hasn't really drawn a lot of progress again.
We didn't see where those air jabs got landed, as NVK will claim England, leaving just Vandal left, who has used all 3 of those air jabs. But I was going to say, if Geo can make it through the main lobby here, he can find himself in a position to be able to sneak up on Vandal. But it's going to be good joint effort from Evil Geniuses. NVK now extremely patient, just waiting for Vandal to pop on through, and there you go, a triumphant round from NVK. I believe that was 4 kills that he was able to put on down. And it was close for Rise at the beginning, but as that round went on, you saw Rise's prospects continue to fall. And being overshadowed by that rush was actually a speculation of mine as to why Rise was running the Twitch. Now, we know that Amira gets picked by EG quite often when you're defending Kitchen. They assumed, with Kitchen, Hookah, and Bars being the rotation, and Kitchen being reopened, that EG was probably going to go back down there. So bring a Twitch, maybe you can take some of that utility and defense away from EG. But when you realize that EG is not running Amira, maybe just go for broke. Or maybe the Twitch was just solely being brought for a scouting mission and a good gun. Who knows? Hyper did get 2 kills in the ensuing fray. The F2 is a great gun to just chew through enemies if you need to. But I wonder how much of that was Rise Nation just being foiled by EG changing things up. EG will now go back upstairs to Hookah, though, and they'll bring Amira this time around.
That's the point I really want to touch on is Rise being foiled by the changes and just the adaptability and fluidity of the play from EG tonight. It does not seem like Rise have an answer, and it seems like they're also not interested in coming up with an answer on the fly. They've started to get much more impatient, much more site-centric. They are not investing in a roam clear because their roam clear has failed them in 2 rounds, so now they're just sending it to the objective, seemingly out of possibilities and out of eventual counter strats. Again, with this this setup on the far side, you get the mirror inside of Theater, looking into Penthouse. I imagine, again, it'll be a heavy investment for Evil Geniuses on the Penthouse and Theater side as they defend Hookah. Last time around, it was Canadian grabbing 2 very early and very aggressive picks as the Vigil. This time, he initially flexed the Pulse and will swap over to a Mute in 6-pick. Again, Rise spawning very close together, having a lot of fun together. See if maybe one of these rushes can turn things around for them.
Early air jab from Vandal will likely go down on just one of the commonplace runouts. Might be over on the window on the right-hand side of your screen. No, there you go. You see it on the doorway, actually, so nobody can possibly rotate. In a second now on the balcony. So you've got air jabs, making sure that nobody can come out at all from the balcony side of Hookah. It's going to be an early kill for Rise, and this might bode well for them, as it's Hyper finding himself on a hard breach roll, taking out Canadian on Mute. Strange to see Hyper playing the Hibana role. There is not really a consensus as to her killing potential, but England now finding Young as it's a Blackbeard player taking down somebody who often fulfills that role for Evil Geniuses on Blackbeard. And all of a sudden, a minute in, Rise Nation looked to be able to put their very first round on the board, but you never count EG out. Unless you do that, England just needs to stand and hold one angle, and EG's going to throw themselves at him. It'll be Necrox in the line of fire. Vandal there claims Geo, and everything is falling apart, with NVK needing to clutch ace. Not able to take out Acid, almost looked like he wouldn't be able to, but NVK now understands there's another body over on Cool Vibe stairs. It's the Hibana of Hyper. A flash will force NVK back on up the Cool Vibe stairs, as Crazy and England are now going to be at the main door looking to push on in. Spotted on a drone as NVK, so he'll go back in, go for the reload. It's going to be a lengthy one, and he'll be vulnerable for the entire time as Rise will continue to advance on that site. NVK has his back turned to the team and will now need to look as England is going for a successful plant. He looks like he should be able to do it. Sight's trained on where NVK is, and there's no way he's getting out of this alive. He's going to come around the corner, and he's going to eat quite a bit of damage from that SMG-11. He'll take out Crazy, but there's likely somebody there to trade, and it'll be Vandal. As Rise Nation took a little bit longer to find their footing and be able to take NVK out, but good patience to not throw themselves at 80 bullets in an LMG.
Again, site-centric round there for Rise, but it results in Evil Geniuses getting a little impatient themselves and taking peeks onto windows and doorways and maybe just aggressive gunfights that didn't bode well for them in the odds, and they swung the way of Rise. So finally, a round back in the W column for Rise, but they still stand at a 3-round deficit as we head into the last round of the half for Evil Geniuses on the defense and Rise on the attack. And for right now, if you're Rise, you just want to, again, salvage the half. We've seen plenty of 4-2 comebacks. We've seen much fewer 5-1 comebacks. It's doable. You just want to put yourself in the best possible situation to take a breather, mentally reset, and come back stronger on the defensive side. We go back to Blue Bar and Sunrise Bars, our last round of the first half. EG will make their final stand here inside of the bars. Last time around, again, it was a Sunrise entrance only push for Rise. Hopefully they'll try and swap things up and at least push from multiple angles.
Interestingly enough, Evil Geniuses will finish this defensive stead without going up to Penthouse Theater. That's something that we actually see a number of teams do now. They'll forego that site completely. What was the most dominant site on Coastline for such a long period of time is no longer. And a lot of that is actually referred to by Reaper, the former coach of Na'Vi, when they were known as Mocket, said it was a bit of a feedback loop. Teams don't practice with Mira, and they often ban them a lot, so you don't see Amira, so you start making strats without Amira, so even when she's banned, you still don't play with Amira. Very similar to Penthouse Theater. because most teams will ban out a Mira on Coastline, Penthouse Theater is just not the place to go, especially with Zofia, Ash, Buck, and even Sledge with those frag grenades, and Finka too if she gets brought. Being able to put so much vertical pressure underneath the footing of those defenders playing in the very typical spots inside of Theater and somewhat inside of the master bedroom as well. So it will be a double bar defense for EG before they switch sides, and immediately Rise will look towards the office to be able to put pressure on that blue bar door, all of which is of course barricaded and will bide some time for Evil Geniuses and wait for Rise to get through that and make progress towards the site.
Public enemy number 1 for Rise has to be Canadian. Again, on the dock, yes, there are other members of Evil Geniuses like Geo who have more kills, but Canadian has been honestly the first push of the boulder, and there goes Hyper once again as Canadian tries to rotate out. Crazy will tack on and take down Geo. So there goes your top frag, and honestly your most aggressive member of Evil Geniuses, NVK, can't land a lethal blow onto Vandal. Drops him below 50 HP, but traded out now as Acid will decapitate him from the the kitchen entrance. It's Young and Necrox suddenly, as we're not even halfway done this round, as they twist around, having to amass multiple angles at a time to try and assess the situation at hand. They try to work their way out of a 2v5.
Air jabs will cut off a rotate through the bathroom, and not a ton of vertical presence as it looked like Necrox tried to retake from above, couldn't do it. Young will gun down Vandal, but England through the wall. A litany of poke holes will give some information, and well, Young's earlier kill will also be a dead giveaway. And that'll be the second round in a row for Rise. A good comeback possibly mounting. They'll need to carry this momentum towards their defense. Now, for the longest time, Coastline was referred to as the map where it, quote-unquote, sucks to play defense. I believe that was BC, who now plays for Dark Zero, his words. And a lot of times, it's very painful to defend here on Coastline. We saw that start to shift with the defense winning on every single map. It's kind of come back to the center now, a large part of that being the possible phantom of Nomad, at least somewhat stopping you from rotating because you have no idea where an air jab is going to be, or even if Nomad is in play because of 6-pick, you can sneak a Nomad on in, and if you don't hear the air jab, you don't necessarily know if there's going to be a Nomad in play. But if the logic holds, Rise need to be able to get a couple rounds early to continue to build on that momentum and prove that Coastline is just as defender favored as all the other maps that we have in the map pool here. Rise is going to be starting downstairs, and we'll see on this double bar setup, which they just won, if they can do the same on the other side of the coin.
Yeah, and like I said, they salvaged the first half, honestly. You come out of that down 4-2 after losing the first 4 rounds consecutively. Right now, you're probably looking to take the same kind of game plan to EG. I imagine Hyper playing the dock is a good symbol that we're going to be seeing some aggressive angles held, if not just straight up aggressive play on the dock from Hyper, as he's going to be a difference maker. Crazy as well, ever since coming over to Rise, has been a noted fragger for the team. It was interesting because Yeti was really doing a lot of the heavy lifting in the kill department for Orgless, and Crazy didn't really get a chance to shine, but now coming over to Rise, he seemingly slipped right into the role that many thought Ghost would be, and fulfilled the duties quite well.
A lot of times the teams will play around somebody in particular, relying on them to get more kills than not, and be very top-heavy. That's the way that Rek has been playing recently with Laxing, and if Laxing gets shut down, it hasn't really done well for the rest of the team to be able to make up that ground. We see that with Accelerate as well. If Achieved is quiet, then the rest of the team just doesn't seem to have it in them, either because they don't have the firepower in the lineups they're going for, or because the strats are not designed to get people outside of Achieved in positions to possibly get kills. Whether that holds for Rise, who tend to be a deeper team. For a while there, it was largely Hyper leading the way with Vertical as well, being the big frag getter on this team last season, but since losing Vertical, there was a hole that needed to be filled. And I think that the way that Acid and Crazy have come onto this team has definitely raised the fortunes of Rise.
Yeah, that depth is definitely measurable now. Back with Beastly and Ghost, there just wasn't as much depth with the team, but now we see them coming alive here as we head into round number 7. The first round of the second half, and Young is going to start things off in the Habana by cracking open the hatch, and this is something we never saw from Rise when attacking this site, with a little bit of top control and actually having some map advantage and being able to cut off rotations and displace some anchors from behind those heavy prominent points.
Also, I believe is only the second round that we've seen a hard breacher on the board. We had Hyper taking hard breach when he was pushing onto the hookah site in round number 5, but now you're going to see Young on it immediately. We got Vandal from below as a breaching charge will go off. Can't be stopped by the UMP as Vandal will go back on that cardiac sensor and try to give information to the rest of his team. He's under heavy watch here as there's drones that will go sailing by, and a couple pings will alert him to the fact that there's enemies not too far away. And danger will lurk only a meter or so from where that cardiac sensor will be able to read. EG bursts into the site. Young will go for a plant with smoke in his way. The Evil Eye will take some damage down. Oh, but Young falls off. Necrox, a calamity of errors as he'll team kill before England can fell NVK. Geo very silently enters on in. He'll punish Acid. In 30 seconds to go, EG will need to possibly get that plant down. Necrox holds the diffuser and can go for a plant in the corner. With the Maestro down, it means that there's going to be no Evil Eyes to tase what little is left of Necrox. The rest of the team will try to figure out the location of Rise as Necrox attempts that plant. Geo picks up kill number 2 onto Vandal, and it looks to be almost successful until England pops up. 2 very big kills. Canadian from above shuts down Crazy. And no diffuser in hand means that with 10 seconds, EG is just simply going to have to frag out. Canadian will now try to fetch the diffuser, but he'll be put in a 1v1 as Geo will get downed and finished off by Hyper. And with all the marks in the world, this should be a very easy hold for Hyper. With just a second left, he'll clean up. 3 rounds in a row. Rise has come alive. That's a big play from this team to be able to hold it all together, and we'll see what site they'll go to next. Excellent recovery after things did get messy through that mid-round for Rise Nation. Gifted and a beautiful basket. And a team kill to start things off from EG of Necrox onto Young.
That was probably one of the most unfortunate circumstances I've seen with someone pulling off of a plant. If you're EG there, you probably got to know that, A, Acid is going to be bringing the Maestro. It's one of his favorite operators. Number 2, they have utility they can use to stop your plant, so you're going to have to bait it out first. It seemed like EG were just getting a little ahead of themselves and trying to sneak in a plant there instead of following normal protocol, I guess you could say. Just the utility never got baited out. Rise had so much in the back pocket there, and then a retake there. It went back and forth, you know. It looked like EG were actually trending with Geo and Canadian last alive there in the 2v2 at the end. They were able to get rid of England behind the bar, but a great shot to the backside of Geo escaping Blue Bar, honestly, from Hyper. That really made the difference in that round. Hyper would have to tango with 2 targets on a retake instead of just 1 had he missed that shot. So props to, again, the young superstar of Hyper on Rise Nation. Like you said, it's 3 consecutive for the team in, I guess, last place, you could call it. The last place of teams remaining in North America is an easier way to put it. And Vandal will be bringing the Kaid with an AUG. Very peculiar setup, but we have seen just last week, I believe it was in Europe, when we saw Coastline being played with the Kaid, those Electro Claws being placed into the top little banisters above the reinforced walls on VIP, virtually invisible and indestructible in their position to stall out any breach of those walls.
Actually a little surprised with how little Kaid that we've seen so far in comparison to where people thought he might end up being in the meta. This an AUG in his hands, which is an odd loadout for a lot of the Kaid that we've seen in Pro League. It tends to be that shotgun that we comically refer to as a DMR, which it essentially is in everything but name in the way that it plays out.
Yeah.
I think there's still a lot of untapped potential from that operator and what pain that he can cause, especially on certain maps and on certain sites on those maps. The biggest issue is that he is easily undone by 1 or 2 well-placed EMP grenades. It destroys the Electric Claw instead of just simply disabling it. And I think that's a major issue with Kaid, is that it forces a Thatcher more often than not, but if there's no real counter to a Thatcher, and you run a Thatcher reliably in your lineup, then you can remove his power from play a lot. We've seen teams do this, actually, is entry from EG over on the master side of things, then towards the VIP doorway. It looks like Young has had no problem opening up 2 small windows, but no, it's actually Kaid tricked. There you have it. You can throw that Electro Claw from quite far away, and it will stop the Hibana X Kairos from going off.
You also mentioned the ease of bringing a Thatcher and how much of a shortcut that is to displacing those Kaid Electro Claws, and we saw in the most picked operators heading into the Playdate today. Thatcher, the #1 picked operator on attack for North America. It obviously varies between regions. Latin America as such not taking a Thatcher very often, but we still stand at a stalemate right now, honestly. A 5v5, not a lot of progress made by Evil Geniuses as they have map control on the opposite side from the objective on the top floor, but they continuously drone out the same members in the same positions inside of Hookah. It's the Smoke and Pulse of Crazy in England. Stacking inside and using that cardiac sensor, and Geo just keeps twisting back and forth in this balcony, but no one's going to give him the peek necessary. Finally, an Aquarium push coming out from Evil Geniuses on the backside, but again, there's no one really here to help Necrox as the lone man carrying the diffuser as smokes come out, and there's a lot of utility in the back pocket for Rise to stall this out.
12 seconds now, the timer for those phone calls to go off as the lifeline will ring away. England cuts Young down to size, waiting for Geo to possibly trade off, but Hyper as England's back and 2 momentous kills. Rise perfect through that stretch. EG in trouble, dropping 4 rounds now, and Rise getting under the skin of EG. There's something in the water when it comes to Coastline as of late for Evil Geniuses, and they are bleeding blue all over the map right now.
So I noted earlier on that when this team was known as Mouse, Rise in Season 8, they defeated EG twice in Season 8. Both their games, they defeated them on Coastline both times. I believe there was a run back similar to this in their first game. I believe EG went up a number of rounds and then Mouse brought it back, but I'm not sure on that. However, it's incredible to see Rise's individual play, especially against a team like EG. They just simply have their number on Coastline. And for the first 4 rounds there, it looked like it was going to be a mop-up for EG. This was going to be the freest 3 points they've had in a while. But no, Rise storming back, bringing 4 straight of their own. So now we stand at a level score line. 4-4, we rotate off to the kitchen as Rise, pulling a similar tactic out of the Evil Geniuses defensive playbook and completely avoiding Penthouse and Theater like it's the plague.
9 rounds, no Penthouse and Theater, so there you go. You'll have it. And there's a part of me that always hopes that Rise Nation wins because England gives probably the most thoughtful and candid interviews in all of North America. It's a shame that we don't see him as much as we do. We saw actually a fair bit of him last season through the second half when they called it England's Revenge Tour. But still, Rise Nation have struggled to be able to climb their way up the standings. I believe they have an opportunity to vault over Accelerate with a victory today, as Accelerate were unsuccessful in match number 2 against Dark Zero.
EXG's at 9, Rise is at 6, so it depends who has the tiebreak.
I have to check on the tiebreaker, which I do not know offhand.
I'd have to bet money it would be EXG holding it because they haven't played in the back half, and in the first half, the only team that Rise beat was SSG.
Right.
So, just doing mental math, it should be EXG still holding the tiebreak, but at least they can draw even.
Correct. So they won't be able to vault over them.
Yeah.
The other thing worth noting is that because Orglis isn't in existence anymore, there's no auto relegation, but the team that still finishes last in North America will be 7th place, which means that you still need to defend your spot against a Challenger League team. It's not smooth sailing. So there's always something to keep in the back of your mind when playing here, and while Rise are very much out of the playoff picture, they're still in a position where they're going to be fighting for their Pro League spot. Geo gets caught in a beautiful crossfire as Vandal is just there, bait, tantalizingly close to Geo. There'll be 2 bodies from Rise Nation holding down that play as it's Crazy who's able to help Hyper get away. Vandal fell eventually as it's Necrox standing inside of Blue Bar. They're close to kitchen. They'll have to confront the fact that most of the walls in the kitchen have been shot out, so there will be no free passage in. You'll be spotted from a mile away, and you won't be able to do too much. But if you have an ACOG and you stand inside a courtyard, it might be to your advantage depending on the way that Caliber Destruction and Soft Destruction has been arranged by Rise Nation.
Saw EG initially attempt to try and push in through Office and clear out that 3-man roam that was set up on the far side for Hyper, Vandal, and Crazy, but they only cleared out Vandal, and they still have Hyper to worry about on the flank. Crazy as well is off, causing mischief around the map, and you've got Acid in behind that Lamborghini main desk. So we stand at a 4v4s. There's a minute ticking down once again, and so much utility in the back pocket of Rise. It's not really been a lot of work done for Evil Geniuses again to try and clear this out. And again, they drone out the members of Rise sitting on site. We're ticking down to the final moments of this round where an Execute's going to come out. And could it be another scenario in which Evil Geniuses stall out in this plant attempt with no utility baited? However, Canadian will dispatch of Crazy with a frag grenade on his country's sake member of Buck. But there goes a trade out from Hyper onto Necrox, leaving us at a 3v3.
Young has managed to weasel a drone into sight and have it go undetected right in front of England multiple rounds now. And if that information is still there for Evil Geniuses, they can capitalize on it. But eerily quiet in the calm before the storm here on a pivotal round, looking for Rise Nation to grab their very first victory and take the lead here on Kitchen. Hyper's going to take out NVK. England is there as well, and it's all up to Canadian, who pulls out the shotgun, downs England, but cannot get anything more than that. Hyper right now has Canadian's number on both sides of the court here. Hearing the telltale rattle of the shotgun, as it's a very quick pivot. That's 5 rounds in a row for Rise Nation, and they have their very first lead of the game.
So I'm starting to get a little worried for EG here. I was worried 4 rounds ago, but the reason I'm worried is because this reminds me of the consulate game that EG played against SSG, in which EG start running up the score against SSG. They go up 4-2 at the half. There's a rehost. It's a little bit of a break. Everybody calms down a little bit. They come back from the rehost, and SSG runs roughshod on them and takes it 7-5 on consulate. And the half, that was the first half for EG, was the defense, and the second half was the attacks. And the attacks for EG were quite lackluster. And again, we find ourselves in a scenario, Evil Geniuses are not performing to standards on attack. They're slow. They're not completing primary objectives to then be able to transition to a site push. There's been so much utility at the disposal of Rise to be able to counter that initial ingress into the objective that they again stall out in their tracks. And then you hear the announcer screaming out, 15 seconds remaining, and everyone starts to just explode into the objective, and they all start falling like ants one by one. It's a troubling sign for Evil Geniuses, not only that they've lost 5 in a row against Rise, but that they can't seem to cobble together an attacking round against any team in North American Pro League for the last few weeks.
And in addition to this, the last couple rounds for Rise have been very decisive. It's not like they're eking out round victories over EG. EG loses 1 or 2 bodies, and then everything just completely falls apart. There's no bounce back, and I don't know if it's EG playing too much as individuals or just not having the tools to possibly flush out the members of Rise, but this is actually eerily similar to what EG was doing on defense. Rise are just kind of having bodies rotate in odd spots and roam in places where you don't expect them to be, and it's preying upon the lack of intel that EG currently has. It's very similar to what Rise was struggling with on their attack.
Well, like you said, Young has been able to snake a drone into the objective, and they've had so much intel onto the anchors. They've had 0 intel onto the roamers, and that is what has been biting EG in the backside, and that's what slows them down every time. They can't clear out the roamers. Hyper and Crazy have been allowed to maneuver the map with ease. On a map of Coastline, that shouldn't be possible.
Canadian just clearing, essentially face-checking, as we call it, because he tucked his drone away, put it away for the time being. As it sounds like a C4 will go off from Vandal below. It was unsuccessful in its connection, and we'll have Vandal now tuck himself back into the bar and possibly serve up something else with that cardiac sensor in hands, as that explosive cocktail was not successful. Give Canadian an opportunity to once again fetch his drone, and there really isn't much movement here. Geo and Canadian have languished inside of Penthouse. You've now got Canadian moved over to Hookah, possibly to take some of the ceiling away from the defenders. It's going to try to make life miserable for England and Co. down below, as there's Vandal there too. You see the offside body of Crazy inside of the main lobby with Hyper there. And this is something that Rise has done extremely well. We saw it for just a second. Fighting for a draw or a trade, immediately catching the refrag from Evil Geniuses. And even if EG gets that opening kill, Rise is there to have their teammates back.
So again, we find ourselves in a position where Evil Geniuses have not been able to isolate and remove any of the roamers from Rise, who stand at a 5v5 in the dying minute of the round. The Toxic Babes, again, coming out from England, stalling out this site push for EG. I sound like a broken record right now, but so do EG look. Smokes will come out from Necrox, and hopefully it won't result in a team kill on the side of Evil Geniuses. They pull back up the drone. A frag grenade will not connect onto England this time. And now the second to last Toxic Babe, and shots up through the floor will drop Canadian. No more top pressure, and England can sit pretty in behind the cubby until NVK pushes down Cool Vibes to take him down. Young on limited HP now, trying to successfully pull off a plant in behind the B bomb inside of Sunrise. He'll get it down. Geo will take down one, but Vandal in the immediate trade. Crazy with another. It's a man advantage now for Rise in a post-plant scenario where they have to retake. Geo outside now, causing a distraction and havoc by breaking glass on the windows, and he's got a Claymore set trying to bait anyone from Rise to get a little aggressive and peek around the corner. Shots from the backside of Crazy, oh, but he wins it out on the net, on the tiny pixel of the door frame. NVK with one, and the defuse will be successful. That is Evil Geniuses dropping 6 rounds in a row. Give him a little dance, Vandal, as Rise have guaranteed yet another point this week.
EG will not be given a victory. Rise Nation will at worst draw, as they've still got 2 rounds for them to close this out. And on top of all of this, Rob, 6 rounds unanswered from Rise Nation right now. They have absolutely woken up and look spectacular in doing so. Rise Nation being able to take out Reciprocity, a top 3 team last week, and looking to do so with Evil Geniuses yet again. This is a massive victory for Dark Zero in their goal to represent North America in Milan, but additionally, a big victory for Reciprocity and for Space Station, all of whom are looking to lock in that other spot. We just saw the longtime favorite of North America, Rogue, in week 11 get denied an opportunity to represent their continent and their region at the finals. EG are going to need every point they can get. These next 2 rounds are going to be probably the most pressure that EG has felt all season, knowing that we're getting down to the wire for all of the remaining teams.
Again, I question why the hell Coastline is the map that came through the bans against this team. If you're EG and you know your history, if I know the history of your team against them, you should probably know it too. Again, maybe they tried to rework some things. Maybe they thought of some new strategies. Maybe they have, like we said, the myriad of different roles that EG were trying in the first 4 rounds and balancing out and playing beautifully. Those first 4 rounds, Rise were lost. And then EG flipped the coin onto the defense, and it has just, wow. It's been disappointing, to say the least, from Evil Geniuses, and it's been mighty impressive from Rise. And with that round win, will now guarantee yourselves another conversation with England.
That's true. Which is
draw interviews.
Which is what I'd like. So yeah, no matter what, we're gonna see England. So that's good. It's only whether he will be joined by a member of Evil Geniuses or not. An early frag on the Hyper, as that is a bit of sloppiness from Rise, but they're going to take some chances knowing that they have a lead and they got 2 rounds to work with it. But still ill-advised. And you'll lose your Jaeger at the main door down in the lobby on what really shouldn't have been a fight.
No, and that's, at least you're able to take down Hyper. If you're Hyper there, sloppy positioning, but at this point you got to be feeling like you're basically untouchable. I think he's only died once on the defensive side, so if you're Hyper, you're feeling pretty good about yourself. Here comes the EMP, I was going to say. Don't detonate those like Skyros into a banded wall, but it'll be Vandal again on the Kaid. Another EMP will come out, just in case, as it looks like he was actually able to catch out that second Electro Claw. Now the pellets will actually successfully detonate onto the VIP wall this time around for EG, and Young but Crazy will take down Necrox. So there goes your trade, and there goes your Dokkaebi, there go your smokes for a plant attempt. Again, Evil Geniuses, they need to pick up the pace.
That's also their diffuser, which is now possibly miles away from the nearest member of Evil Geniuses, which will necessitate this change from EG and where they are sitting on the map. Somebody's going to need to grab that diffuser and be able to get in closer towards the site, unless it just ends up simply being, hey, there's 4 of us, there's 4 of them. Let's try to leverage the fact that we've got some more utility than them and push on in. But I would actually argue that the defense right now are better equipped with that utility. England's still going to have his 3 toxic canisters. You got Crazy, unless he spent that nitro cell. He'll have a C4 in hand. But there goes a frag grenade. It'll take down Acid, finished off by Geo, who's now on that buck roll. Crazy will move on over to see if he can cover it all. He's got the nitro cell still available if need be. But EG will take a lead in the final minute. And we'll see if the clock can work towards the Rise Nation being able to get a very important victory to try and get out of relegations, or if EG's playoff chances will get a little bit slimmer. Crazy will gun down NVK and we'll find ourselves back even 3-3.
NVK losing a very influential gunfight there, and Crazy able to win that out and lock down. So that's again the diffuser surrendered, this time on the hookah balcony. So a reposition coming out from Gio as he saunters up the hookah balcony stairs. A concussion mine at the best possible time, honestly. Flurry of trades come out, leave Vandal and Gio in a 1v1. The diffuser is still outside for Gio. He has not recovered it. Vandal still playing in behind the Sunrise bar. Shots will give away his position as Gio still contends with that barbed wire at the base of the door frame. Vandal unaware of the positioning of Gio, a plant being attempted into the back. He still have impact nades to launch out just as a scare tactic as Gio coming closer and closer, and he will complete the plant. Rushing on in now, Vandal spraying through the benches, but will only connect one bullet, doing minimal damage right up against where a rotate would be. An impact comes out and it won't land. Shots around the corner, and again, Gio taking way more damage as Vandal still above 95. Pressing right up against the hard wall, another impact, but Gio has rotated out to the vase. Unaware is Vandal, and Evil Geniuses will finally stop the bleeding. They have lost the ability to get 3 against the worst team in North America. They might still be able to claw 1 point out of this.
That looked for a second there like the pressure had gotten to Gio. Somebody who does not usually miss. It's uncharacteristic of him to be put in that position where he just cannot land the shots needed to start with. And when he finally moved on out, it actually looked like when the gun barrel of that C8 poked through the door that Vandal was in every position to be able to get that kill. And Vandal missed, which is pressure on both sides, knowing that with Rise Nation, the game is on the line. The game is on the line for both teams right now, whether it's going to be a draw or whether Rise will walk away with 3 big points and tie them with the same point total as Accelerate.
This is also a situation where it's going to go the distance again. We've seen a lot of games that have come down to the absolute wire, and I can't really think of a better one to go down to the wire than this one. Gio, of course, leading the way for Evil Geniuses, but you can't count out Hyper in England. Not playing on a fragging roll, and honestly didn't really do much on the Blackbeard. Having a wonderful game so far on the defensive side. So we go to Kitchen, and Service Entrance as our final stand. Rise looking to secure 3 points and at least tie EXG in points. They'll still be in 7th due to the tiebreak, but at the very least they're inching away further and further, and that honestly puts more pressure onto EXG, who come away with a loss today against Dark Zero, who will have to play out for the rest of the season. They don't have a bye week remaining anymore. Honestly, if I'm EXG watching this game, I'm getting worried. If I'm Reciprocity or Space Station Gaming watching this game, I'm very happy. Because EG can't get 3 points and tear away with some of the lead in North America, and it remains a deadlock and a logjam, honestly, the top 4.
The happiest team in North America watching this right now is going to be Dark Zero as well. They keep one of their competitors a little bit farther back. You don't really have to worry about it. Keep in mind that EG is going to be facing Dark Zero next week. This could provide some motivation for EG in what will assuredly be a grudge match between 2 rosters that have quite a storied history with each other. But before we get there, we still have another round to play in our very final matchup of the day. Rise Nation put 6 together, but EG was able to blunt that momentum, winning a 1v1, a situation that still is a little too close for EG's liking, I'm sure. Whether that'll have any effect here, as it's a good start. Canadian will finish off Vandal, and you lose the Pulse, a very critical operator whose ability to figure out your location with that cardiac sensor coupled with the C4 can be the undoing of many teams, especially in the dying seconds of a round. The longer that clock goes, the better a Pulse gets.
Very scary moment there for Rise, as Canadian was also positioned outside of the front door by the Lamborghini, and 3 members of the 4 remaining for Rise were all amassed outside of that desk. It was Crazy Acid and Hyper, leaving England alone to try and stave off the onslaught of threats coming out from Evil Geniuses, but none taking form into action just yet. Hyper will hear a drone at his doorstep inside a CCTV, and Gio will give chase, trying to hunt his prey, but he turns back, seemingly on a call from the rest of the team to turn tail and regroup with the rest of the squad. Canadians got things locked down at the front door, and again, EG running out of time. The clock, their biggest enemy in this entire matchup against Rise, and they need to convert into a site push now.
They've circled around enough where they can begin to get on, and a frag grenade will not find any targets, and an explosive that will go off in vain as the diffuser gets juggled, allowing EG to begin their assault on the kitchen site. Utility in hand with 1 set of smoke grenades in Necrox's fingers. He'll toss 1 out, he'll cut off just a portion of the kitchen, and there you go, completely obscuring the site. but very well timed as England now has the clock to battle in the remaining 40 seconds with his toxic canisters. Hyper and Acid absorbing an awful lot of damage as Geo drops Hyper. Waiting to see what Acid can muster from inside of the main lobby. England cannot control the recoil. Looking through the doorway, Geo takes out Acid. A 2v5, surely favoring EG. England trying to connect through the railings. He'll take some damage. Run on in. Crazy drops Canadian, looks for another push. Young going for a plant, possibly no, choking out a lot of that toxic canister amidst the smoke is Crazy, dropping Necrox. England itches on up. He doesn't know if there's a body planting. It's Young who will now need to go. 10 seconds, Crazy, tick-tock, push on in. He sees one, gets the mark. Can Crazy land the shots? No, Geo in the last second will give EG a draw, and it's a big 2 rounds for Geo, as he almost single-handedly wills his team into a situation where they leave 2 points on the table, but don't suffer a defeat at the hands of Rise Nation. What a performance, almost breaking 20 kills, and indisputably the MVP of that matchup is Geo, but both teams will likely walk away a little disappointed with that match.
Yeah, if you're EG and you're facing the number 7 seed, you got to feel pretty good about your chances heading in. You go up 4-0, you're feeling hot. You're ready to take that whole game. And then you Rise. You storm 6 in a row. Almost a 7th in that 7th round to take the game in the 3 points and to firmly push you out of that relegation spot and apply pressure to EXG. Comes down to a 1v1. And then you lose the next round and it comes out a draw. If you're Rise, you're probably kicking yourself. If you're EG though, there's more on the line here. There's way more on the line here, especially with how incredible the rest of North America in that top 4 has been. This is going to be a dogfight to the bitter dying moments to make it to Milan in every single region, honestly. And if you're leaving points on the table like that against, honestly, your best opponent, your best matchup, you better start turning some incredible tricks later on in the season.
Yeah, this was the match where EG needs to be able to get those points. Period. Full stop. That's it. You need to be able to walk away with 3 points here in order to better your chances going up against it. Statistically, you have the weakest team, right? And while I would argue that Rise Nation have looked remarkably different through the last 4 games, and we saw previously, this is still a team that hasn't looked like the best team in the region. You're going up against the best team in the region next week. This might provide you some motivation. EG does tend to pair up quite well against Dark Zero, but Dark Zero is going to be out for blood, and they're going to look to essentially secure their spot. If DZ wins against EG next week, I'm pretty sure it's 100% that DZ makes it to Milan. I'd have to look at the exact numbers, but it basically puts DZ in a position where they can't fall out of the top 2, because EG left some points on the table here. They would, if they lose next week, they'd leave some points on the table there as well. There'd need to be some number crunching, but when I was sitting in the break in the last match, looking through it, it looked pretty sure that DZ was going to be able to get one of those 2 spots. Then comes down to basically being SSG, Reciprocity, and EG fighting for that very last spot, which that's tough competition right now. And it always looks like Reciprocity is EG's number, at least over the last couple months.
Yeah.
It's not going to be easy. This was a game that was a must-win for EG, but also for Rise too, because I don't just want to focus on one of those teams. Rise needed to get out of the basement. They were given an opportunity with Accelerate failing to beat Dark Zero earlier. Rise really should have been able to pick up a full 3 points if they really wanted to grind their way upwards.
Yeah, and like we talked about a couple times during that game, if you're Reciprocity or your Space Station who had the week off, who couldn't get any points this week, you're looking at that match and you are licking your chops. You are feeling incredibly good. Because, like we said, this was the best matchup Evil Geniuses was going to have in this back half of the season at any point to secure 3 points. They only walk away with 1, and it was narrowly that they even walked away with 1. But that puts us at a logjam at the top now. So Dark Zero with their win head to 23 points. Then we have Reciprocity and EG now rounding out at 20 points. The little kicker there is that EG still has a game in hand because they've had their bye week and Reciprocity has not.
Neither is Dark Zero.
No.
So both of those teams are going to have to sit out 1 week, so there's less points on the table. EG actually benefited from having the bye week earlier on because now they have far more power over who they win, and they're still, right now, in control of their own destiny to a certain extent. That spot in the top 2 is still very much for their taking. But even when we do a draw, we do interviews now, so we've got both England and Canadian available, and we'll bring both of them up. 2 of the best interviews in all of Pro League and, of course, in North America. We'll say hello to England and Canadian, and we'll go through different countries, but interesting, actually, very interesting that they're both named after countries.
Yeah.
Just realized that. There you go. Congratulations to both of you for your draw. You both got a point today. I don't know if that's cause for celebration for either of you. I'm going to start with you, Canadian, first and foremost, because this was a point that Flynn harped at a number of times. Your coastline, statistically, over the last little while, was something that he was confused by as to why you would come back here, especially given your previous matchups against this squad when they were mouse sports last season. Did you expect to go to coastline today?
Yeah, we did. I think that's actually kind of unjust to say that. I think other than our loss against Reciprocity, we've been undefeated on Coastline in the past, like, full season pretty much. So, yeah. Since picking up Geo, we've been undefeated on the map until we lost Reciprocity at Invitational.
Right. Now, England, were you anticipating going to Coastline? And if so, I wanted you to go through the first half of this game, because there were a number of rounds where you guys did not look like you had a good synergy to even get into the building. EG was stopping you most of the way. Something at some point clicked, and you carried that momentum through to the defense. Was it just a bit of rustiness heading into the matchup? Was it you changed a couple things with the way you were attacking, and then that just carried over to you playing better on defense?
So, yeah, we did expect to play Coast. EG prepped like amazingly for this map. Like, our default attacks were just completely stopped. After we're down 0-3, we just decided we're just gonna do every alternate attack we've ever had. We got 2 rounds. I don't know. We weren't really we weren't expecting to have such a good defensive side, but in terms of the first half, we just kind of decided let's just do most of our alternative takes, and they started working towards the end. We lost the round 1 to Geo, who clutched 20 rounds and had 20 kills. So maybe it would have gone better if Geo wasn't just such a force, but you never really know. Hyper was killing people too, so it was a close game. I'm sure they're disappointed. That land on the line. We're disappointed because we're not really tied with that auto relegation spot. So it's just kind of a bitter feeling, honestly.
Troy, I wanted to ask you about Hyper getting the better of you in so many of those altercations. You referred to him once as one half of the Brick Brain duo. Is there fear whenever you go up against him in every single matchup?
Not really. I don't know. I don't really think about it, but I like to mess with him a bit. But honestly, I didn't even realize I got into many engagements with him. I think I got into engagements with Crazy a lot, more than anyone. Yeah, I don't know. I don't think I got into too many with Hyper, but maybe. Yeah, I don't know.
England, did you change up the way that Crazy and Hyper play off of each other? Because it looked like Crazy was being the primary entry on a lot of different takes, but it was Hyper on defense who was being your main offsite player. Is this a flexibility that Crazy brings to the lineup?
Yeah, definitely. He definitely has a voice, and that's not something I've been used to on my players that roam, or the players on the team that roam. So, that's mainly kind of his call. The team, we talk about what we want to achieve with this roam or this certain defense. It's mainly kind of his call to where they start, where they lead. It's a little more loose, and it helps having a player that's flexible. You can run a lot of ops and talk. So,
perfect. You have any questions, Rob?
Absolutely. I'll start with you, England. So we actually forgot to touch on this last week, so I do apologize. You pick up a new coach, Remorse, Brad. You finally get him to Pro League. What has Remorse done to try and, I guess, change the identity of this team? Because in the first half, you guys looked not great, and now you guys look like you're actually piecing together quite a few rounds on both attack and defense against some serious opponents.
I think he kind of took a lot of frustration out that was kind of in between the players, right? When you have a coach who's, he's just trying to help, right? He's just trying to improve the team. And, we were definitely a tension-high team last split. Obviously, we have 2 new players coming in, but still, Remorse does a lot of prep work for the matches. We knew a lot of... We knew, the style EG played. I mean, obviously, we're familiar with them, but he helped us a lot, in those rounds where, the round's ticking down, no one's died yet, it's 5v5s, just staying, calm. You don't need to make a play, you're just staying focused. He's kind of helped us improve our individual game as well, to a degree, right? Like, we kind of had some clashing people, stuff when stuff's not going right, everyone, wants to win, so everyone gives an opinion, etc. We kind of like dialed that back, had faith, just kind of worked on improving ourselves, and it's been working pretty well for us recently.
Well, it's evident in the play. Honestly, it's a brand new rise. It's a brand new look on the team. Troy, you guys for a couple of weeks in a row now, the attacking side of the game. Your defenses, today was a masterclass on the defensive side to start, but the attacks for the last few games just haven't really been there. Is there something you guys have actively changed, or is this a new hurdle that the team needs to overcome?
We've just kind of been in a slump as of late, and just trying to work our way out of it. That's really all I can say.
Yeah.
I'd tell you what's going on, but we're in the slump, so I can't really tell you what's going on. We need to figure it out.
I gotcha.
Yeah.
Well, gentlemen, thank you so much. This was my first joint interview. It's always nice to speak with both of you. Anything for either of you to say? We'll start with England here. Anything for you to say to your fans before we end the interview?
First of all, good game, Troy. To the Rise fans, we tried. They're a great team. It was a great match for us. We got a point. My boy Zest is still LFT. I don't know how. It's criminal that my boy Zest is still LFT. That is at Zest, 3 T's with an underscore. And that's about it.
Troy?
Just thanks for having me. Thanks, fans, for the support. Hopefully we can get out of this slump and make it to Milan for you guys. Sorry, my voice is a little messed up. I've been sick as well. Thanks for having us. Thanks for the support.
Feel better, Troy, and it was nice to see both of you. Gentlemen, good luck in your next couple matches.
Thanks.
Interesting concept, doing a joint interview.
It's fun. I like being able to ask questions.
I have no problem with you asking questions.
Okay.
You ask some questions all you want. I actually didn't know how the rigmarole was, and
Yeah.
I was like, do I ask all the questions?
I don't. We figured it out. We sorted it out.
We did it.
You want to know why Zest is still LFT, by the way? It's because he's bringing a lion round 1 unprovoked. That's why he's still LFT. And he's tweeting about it.
Good luck on finding a team.
Yep.
Good luck. We should have the standings for you as well, so you can visualize what happened at the conclusion of play day number 11. And we'll bring them up on your screen here for you. Just to see what's going on. Dark Zero will finish the day in first place. They hold on to that one. And to the best of my knowledge, Reciprocity should be in second because I believe they have the tiebreaker over EG. So that would mean that EG should be in third. But the big story of the day is that statistically, Rogue, Accelerate, and Rise Nation are no longer able to make it into the playoffs. That leaves it as a 4-team race that is kind of broken out into a 3-team race. But Space Station had the week off, so they're going to have to look up to make up that ground over the next 3 play days.
Yeah, EG also has a game in hand. They've only played 10 matches. So EG and Space Station have the most points available to them, which would mean math 9, because they have 3 games remaining, versus Reciprocity and Dark Zero, who have to take a week off. They only have 6 points remaining at their disposal. So it's all going to shake out into an incredible dogfight all the way down to the bitter end. I imagine we're going to have another scenario again, just like last season. We're going to have someone play in. You do or you die. Week 14. Winning, go to Milan. Losing, stay home.
Looking at the math there, Dark Zero has a really good opportunity to clinch their spot next week in their matchup against Evil Geniuses. They could be the first team to possibly mathematically clinch it in North America. So we'll see if they're actually able to do that, as that's going to be a banger of a match. But that's next week. We still have Latin America coming up on Wednesday, and then Europe as well on Friday, in addition to all the Challenger League play that you can find on the various channels. I recommend going to Twitter and following R6 Esports so you can keep up to date with all of the Pro League and Challenger League goods. There's a lot of great games, a lot of Challenger League casters and community casters who spend their time to be able to bring you a variety of games. But on behalf of everybody, you saw all 4 casters today. On behalf of our wonderful production team, the ESL TV team, for that beautiful intro as well. On behalf of myself, Rob, Kix, as well as Milos. Thank you so much. This is Playdate number 11 in the books. We'll see you in just a couple days for Latin America Pro League.